Hello, everyone. Today is our last week talking about um, our book, Shifting the Balance, and today we're talking about some recommendations for text for beginning readers. So our first one is evaluate our text. We talked last week about those different tensions, trying to find something that's in the middle of decodability versus pattern versus high frequency, all those different tensions. And so it's just making sure that we're evaluating. You guys do this all the time when you're in the book club, in the back book room, picking out books, deciding. I know you guys don't just grab any book. So making sure we're evaluating for language structure, making sure it sounds like how we talk, high frequency words, the illustrations. I think this is a good one. Do the illustrations deepen the meaning, or do they actually make it um, to replace the decoding? Does it make it so they don't have to decode? So trying to find some illustrations that are deepening it. And then also just thinking about representation. I know this is something that some of our books may be a little bit older, and so we don't have that diverse representation. So thinking about that piece as well. The next one is you might try to write some aligned text. So if you're not finding what you need in the book room or online, you might decide like, hey, I could maybe write a little something. This, in order to write some aligned text, you're going to want, move this out of here. You're going to want your phonics progression. So thinking about what you're teaching now and what you've taught up till then, and a list of high frequency words. And this might be in your morning message, shared reading, a dictation, or independent reading. You might use this in many different places. And these are 5 steps if you wanted to write your own. So identifying those phonics principles you're working on. Choose a few high frequency words. Choose a topic or a storyline. And just write your text. Take all those things, have that in mind, and give it a shot. And then you might even decide to draw images if you're into drawing or finding images online. And one thing they talk about there as well is just be careful of representation. If you are finding images online, if you search for like kids running, you're going to get a bunch of white kids running. So making sure that you're just thinking about that representation side of things. All right. The next recommendation is use pattern text in better ways. So those books that we have been using that repeat and repeat and repeat, is we can still use them, but just making sure we're using them better. So one of the big things is prompting to try decoding first. Just taking that idea of check the picture and shoving it towards the end once they've decoded and run through the word as much as they can. You might take some of those trickier words that they're not able to decode and do some of that orthographic mapping and help them out that way. Don't go too heavy on a book walk or intro. That takes away from a lot of what they need. I know with our ELLs, we tend to need that, but at the same time, just don't go too heavy on it. And then also being extra careful with levels, levels A and B, because those are the ones that tend to have the words that you need the oral language to be able to figure out some of those things, and the decoding it's not going to help you out as much. So being very careful with those levels. The next one is honor multiple ways to read. So I think we've talked about this in the past. I know a lot of teachers have books where you can read the pictures, you can read the words, you can retell the story. And so they talk a little bit about, you might have read all the words books, and those are going to be the ones that are decodable. And that's going to look deliberate, slow. They're going to be rereading it. They're going to be decoding every single word. And they're really going to be focusing on the alphabetical principle and really understanding that. And then you read in other ways books where you're reading the pictures. You're not able to maybe read all the words in it, but there's still good things that can come out of it. You can study and read the pictures. You can talk about it with friends. You might be able to decode. They might be able to decode some of the words, and it's really gonna help improve oral language as well. So both of these books have their place, even with our earliest kids. So making sure that we give them a little bit of both. And then the last thing, which is something that I know our teachers at our school do a great job, is supporting book choice. So a couple of ideas, you might have small groups to help support new book choices where you go with them into the library to help make those choices with them every once in a while. Giving them choice within choice, that's always a fun one. here's 5 books for you that maybe are read all the words books. I need you to have some of these books in your book bag. Which ones look interesting to you? You might have kids trade in only half of their books at a time instead of putting them all back and getting all brand new books. It's going to help to make sure they always have something familiar in their book box instead of now all of a sudden they've got nothing that they've ever seen before. That might just help out. And create copies of familiar text. So if you've done something as a shared reading, making copies of those and getting them in book bags or in the library that they can take and put back. Also making sure they've got a mix of these different books, especially in the beginning, things that they can actually decode, and then some that they're able to talk with partners or things like that. So awesome. Thank you guys so much for those of you who have checked out some of these videos, and hopefully some of these things have helped you throughout the year to think about reading in a little different way. Thanks so much.